So at this time, I am going to call the Wildwood Owners Project Selection Committee meeting to order on Thursday, June 5th, 2025 at 6:30 here at the Wilmington Town Hall. And at this time, I'm going to do a roll call. Paul Millerani.
Here.
Dennis Kelly.
Here.
Diane Allen.
Here.
Paul Ruggiero.
Here.
Judy O'Connell is here. This evening, we are going to be conducting interviews for the finalists for the Wildwood Owners Project Manager position. And at this time, we do have our first firm here, which is Colliers Project Leaders. Welcome.
Thank you.
On behalf of this subcommittee, my name is Judy O'Connell. I'm the Assistant Town Manager for the Town of Wilmington. I am also the Chair and member of the Building Committee. We are pleased to have you here this evening. I want to just kindly remind you that this session is being recorded. It will be broadcasted out to the general public. And at this time, as we told you, we are going to offer 10 minutes for a brief introduction and for you to offer a presentation. And then we're going to offer the remainder of the time for approximately 35 minutes to ask you a series of questions. I will be the primary person, asking those questions, and there may be some follow-on questions from the members of the committee. So your scheduled time is from 6:30 to 7:15, and at this time, we'd like to give the floor to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So very much appreciate the opportunity. We're Colliers Project Leaders. We've been providing owners project management services for nearly 30 years now to towns just like Wilmington on their publicly funded projects. We also provide mechanical, electrical, and plumbing commissioning, and we carry our commissioning department on our OPM engagements to assist with MEP system support during design and during startup and testing. We developed an efficient 10-minute presentation, but to make it efficient, we got two speakers, myself and Mike, and my hope is to get the other team members involved during the Q&A. So we'll start with individual introductions. So my name is Philip Palumbo. I'm a project director with Colliers. I've been with Colliers now at 13 years in October, serving as OPM to towns just like Wilmington on their publicly funded projects. And then before Colliers, another 8 years in the design and general construction industries, focusing on publicly funded projects.
Mike Reed, project manager, about 5 years with Colliers and about 15 years as an OPM at other organizations. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Brady.
Hi everyone, Brady Doyle, project manager with Colliers. Been with Colliers for just over a year now, and prior to that, I have about 7 years of experience in the design and construction industry.
Thanks, Brady. Tal?
Talwin, senior analyst, financial analyst with Colliers, and I have over a decade of experience in the public sector, and I hope I can bring it here.
Thank you, Sal. Luis?
Luis Rodriguez, construction representative, bringing 13 years of experience in the design and construction industry with a keen focus on K-12 schools.
Thank you, Luis. Mike?
Hi, Mike Dykens. I'm a mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer, and I'll be providing a lot of technical support and also any kind of commissioning. I'm here tonight on behalf of Sarah Maston. Sarah couldn't join us tonight. She had a family obligation. She couldn't reschedule. I work very closely with Sarah. I've been with Colliers for 15 years and I love what I do.
Thank you, guys. So I would be your primary point of contact. I urge you to reach out to references to MSBA. I promise you they'll tell you great things about my responsiveness, my work ethic, and my competencies. But so I would be your primary point for the course of our services to you all. So because we got 10 minutes, we handpicked 4 topics we thought were pretty crucial, important to your project and where you are now. Give you an idea of our overall project approach. Talk about community outreach and community engagement. Understanding your vote is in September. Talk about maintaining a cost-effective design if the project's approved and you got another year of design. And then talk about that value management part to make sure we're designing to your current construction budget. So project approach. So overall project leadership. It's from our project experience, we know that projects that are successful, it's very clear cut to all the entities, firms, and agencies involved that we're the primary coordinator and the primary organizer to make sure we're developing project communication and project success that aligns with that graphic on the right-hand side of the slide. Organized project team, everybody understands their milestones, their deliverables, and when they got to be taken care of. So that project communication can come directly through us, and we'll disseminate it across the project team to ensure everybody understands their marching orders. Managing the needs of the town, district, and school building committee. Got a lot of experience with projects of this size that have multiple owner stakeholders. So we understand because of that, there's going to be differing opinions. So what we do on that is show the same care level and attention to detail to every committee member and every town staff member. So everybody feels like at least their voice is being heard. Every project decision made, you're not going to have 100% consensus. But as long as the people feel like we're all putting our best foot forward, we're doing all the studying we need to make sure the decisions being made are in the best idea or whatever for town of Wilmington and for the project, people fall in line and understand that's where the path we're going. Community outreach and transparency. We understand in the RFS, there was language about not being able to contract with the incoming OPM until the local vote. And so we would just say, and Mike's gonna speak to detail on this big picture topic, but if there was a need to have a conversation with you all to get engaged quicker than that, we would have that conversation with you and something could be figured out potentially. Managing the design team and CM team. Got experience with Dawn Whittier, got a lot of experience with Fontaine. They're the CM on the David Powdy High School project with us. So we would love to team up with them again on this project and make sure they're providing the contractual obligations to you all, to the town and to the district. All those bullet points essentially equate to overall quality control. You got your quality control from the state level, from MSBA. We would be providing your local quality control, making sure all the firms involved are providing their contractual obligations, making sure we're designing to budget, the quality is where it needs to be, the durability is where it needs to be, and we're hitting our marks schedule wise. So with that, I'm gonna hand it to Mike and he'll get into community outreach.
Great, thanks, Phil. So about 20 years ago at this point, I was on the other side of the table here, a member of the building committee, school building committee for a project in my town. So certainly appreciate the challenge and the importance of outreach, right? And the vote and getting the required number of voters to obviously vote yes on the project. We do a lot of public work, and so it's something that we're very competent in assisting with. And it's part of our you know, one of the key components that we deal with on every project. We can see that obviously you guys have done a lot of work already, and evidenced by the YouTube videos and the forums that you've had. I think that at this point, next steps would probably be to get a pack together to work on things like yard signs and mailers, items like that, to get more granular and yeah, just continue on the great work you've already done.
Thank you, Mike.
Sure.
So Wildwood Elementary decision tools to cost-effective design, right? So we understand you've gone through a schematic design effort, and that has different building components and site components. But if the project's approved, you're gonna have another year's worth of design. And you're gonna wanna make sure you're holding true to the promise of designing a cost-effective building and site. So on the slide here is a life cycle cost analysis for the HVAC system selection for another MSBA funded elementary school. We understand you guys already done this exercise, you made your HVAC. So the point of the slide isn't that. The point of this slide is to tell you all, as the OPM, it's our job to make sure we're pulling out whatever info we gotta do out of the design team. So you feel like you've gotten all the info you need, pros, cons, upfront bid costs, whatever it might be, to say yes to this building cladding, yes to this building detail. No, we don't need that much planting. We're okay with doing bituminous concrete at this side, so on and so on. So we put forth a lot of effort to make sure we're doing that through the rest of design, so we can speak proudly to your peers and your community members that this is the most cost-effective design for this public school building. So value management, value engineering, you guys have a construction budget of $137 million. We got another year of design to make sure we're designing a building and site, an abatement and demo package that fit within that budget. It's never, ever, ever as easy as what I just said. So this value management effort exercise is gonna happen 3 more times in the course of your year left of design. This is a snapshot, very limited portion snapshot of the VE log. We saw your VE log from your SD submission. VE log from the David Powdy High School project. This is taken from the 60% construction document estimate process. Fontaine was is the CM on that job. If you could see at the bottom of the accepted column, from our schematic design value management effort to this 60% CD value management effort, we worked together with the designer and Fontaine to produce $3.29 million value management to ensure we were, so that construction budget was 91.2 million. To ensure at GMP time, we came in at 91.2 million and we did. So we would do the same effort and same exercise with Fontaine and Dawn Whittier. We understand that Karen PMNC as a cost estimator to make sure we're staying on budget that you promise your taxpayers. So that's our 10-minute presentation. We didn't want to go over, so I'm sorry it was so short, but we wanted to get right to it. So thank you so much.
You did fantastic. Thank you. So at this time, as I mentioned, I'm going to ask a series of questions. Some of my peers may have some follow-on. The first question is, and I apologize in advance, some of them are a little bit long, but you can stay with me. Maintaining consistent leadership and management throughout a project is critical for success. Please explain how your team, your firm, plans to maintain that consistency. Additionally, can you provide any guarantee that we will have the team that is in person here tonight? And can you also please confirm that this is the team that's reflected in your RFS submission? And how will you handle any personnel changes as we move through this process, if any?
Sure. So consistency with leadership, it's gonna start with me being your primary point, and I'm gonna put forth the effort like I do on all of my other projects to make sure all the other vendors involved, Dawn Whittier, Fontaine, and the SBC, that they recognize I'm your point of contact as your OPM, and it's gonna start with me. And I'm gonna make sure we got organized meetings set up, building committee meetings, working group meetings needed for design phase process, whatever meetings are needed relative to Fontaine and understanding cost issues, et cetera. So it's gonna start there. And I'm gonna go out of order here. The next question was, can we get, so the only delta between what we carried for a team in the proposal to what's here today is Mike, as Mike mentioned, Sarah has a conflict. But the truth is our MEP commissioning team, they work hand in hand. So we carry Sarah because she's the director, but it's either gonna be her, Mike, or one of their MEP commissioning agents providing those MEP design reviews. So that's the project team. Guarantee that this is the team. So yes, this is going to be the team. We select our teams in terms of our proposal based off what they have for bandwidth in terms of current workload. So we feel very confident this team is gonna be the team you see from now through move-in in 28 and finishing the site work through the course of 2029. There was another
If
question.
how you handle personnel changes, if any?
Yep. So if there is a need to have personnel changes, we have to provide the resume to you all, seek your approval on it. And then we gotta provide that, it's gonna be a written document, provide that to the MSBA. There's not an OPM or anybody that can, guarantee when somebody might wanna leave a firm or so on, so. But in the event that happens or something else happens, that would be the process we would follow. We wouldn't just throw a personnel onto the project, we would provide the resume and seek your approval on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What differentiates this project team in your firm from other OPMs? Describe the role and involvement of each of the project team members, as well as the access they have to other internal resources.
Sure. So I would say the biggest delta is our mechanical, electrical, plumbing commissioning department. I can't stress enough how big that is as it relates to MEP design reviews, making sure when we get to GMP with Fontaine, there isn't any MEP constructability issues in the documents. And then utilizing them, you're already gonna have a MSBA funded commissioning agent, but any other issues that might pop up that it warrants us bringing in our MEP commissioning team, that's proven to be extremely helpful. The other thing I would say, and these aren't unique to the OPM world, but I would put us up against any other OPM as it relates to change order management and making sure we're protecting every single penny of your contingency during the construction phase. And making sure any change orders that we're seeking your approval on, we know are fair and reasonable change orders. And they're legitimately not covered in the construction documents. The next question.
That's okay, just roles and involvement of each project
Yep.
team member and then access to internal resources.
Yes, so starting off, you're gonna see mostly me. But with me will be kind of Mike and Brady hand in hand, kind of going through the design process. MSBA deliverables, you got upcoming design development, 60% CDs and 90% CDs. The cost estimate reconciliation process, so that'll be a me, Mike and Brady. We have Tao involved in cost estimate reconciliation, providing cash flow schedules to you all. And she helps our clients with the MSBA ProPay system. As well as periodically, she'll reconcile our budget with your town ledger. Luis, 5 days a week construction rep. He's right now working with Fontaine on the Crocker Elementary School in Fitchburg. That's gonna be done at the end of this year. So that's his expertise, cost, quality, and schedule on the job site, as well as we're gonna have him do constructability reviews during design. And then, as Mike mentioned, that MEP support. So the MEP support during design is gonna be design reviews. And it's gonna be, and then once we get into construction, you know, have them do a walkthrough every now and again during MEP roughing to make sure they're not seeing anything concerning and whatnot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The next question is, please explain your history of and methods for keeping projects on schedule and costs under control. If you can provide examples of your experience in managing the budget through the specific project phases, design and construction. And if you can also please provide examples of where you were able to save money working on a project without compromising the project.
Yeah, so method for schedule control. It starts off with getting that baseline schedules from, so it'll be from Fontaine. And we gotta make sure, and so that baseline schedule is gonna be a critical path schedule, meaning it's gonna show float time, and it's gonna show scopes of work that are linked to other scopes of work. Once we get to an agreement on that schedule, that's gonna be the Bible of the schedule moving forward. And if, as Luis is monitoring the job site and he's seeing slippage in any scope, we're gonna request a recovery schedule to understand how we're gonna get back that time. The owner didn't cause that delay, so you gotta figure it out. I don't know if it's working late during these next few weeks, or if it's working during the Saturdays, or maybe we gotta kind of resequence some things, and maybe that's gonna help out. But that's kind of the overall schedule management. For an example, you want to talk about Proctor and any schedule?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I can, Proctor, as an example, had, when it went out to bid, it was in a challenging time during COVID. And the team, the design team tried out what was a unique approach to HVAC. And ultimately, the school, when they saw they had some bid savings, they're like, hey, we have some bid savings. Although this approved approach works, we want to make an additional investment to bolster up the HVAC system. We're going to use this building year round, summer school, everything like that. So they had the money. And what Fontaine was able to do is come to us, me, Luis, and then to the building committee and say, hey, we can do it for this amount. And at the end of the day, we're not going to push the project. We're going to adjust it. We're going to fit it within, you're going to have the same end date. We're going to take the budget you give us. And we worked with them to make some concessions. We did a partial handover of the existing facility. They took a part of the new building early on to help facilitate that. So I think Phil was alluding to it, but how can we get creative working as a team to come up with a consensus about how can we make this happen? Meet budget, schedule, and overcome challenges, be it owner driven or anything else that might arise.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll add is, so we looked at your SD submission, we saw the projected construction schedule. We saw the early scope packages scheduled for this 2026 spring, some site work, some foundation work, structural steel. We did the same early scope packages with Fontaine on the David Property High School project. That'll come in extremely handy to get the new building occupiable for the 28 school year. So you're on the right track in terms of developing an efficient construction schedule that can get you guys in that building for 28 and then finish the site work afterwards.
Thank you. Next question, explain how you, the project team, will handle coming into this process in the middle and starting with phase 6 design. How will you overcome not being part of the team through the first 5 phases? And what have you done to prepare up to this point for this assignment? And what will you continue to do in order to hit the ground running on day 1 if you should be the new OPM for this project?
Okay, coming in the middle, we're gonna treat it like we're coming in at forming the project team. So we're gonna put our best foot forward, just like we would on any other project. I'm not gonna look at it any differently, and I'm gonna make sure they're not either. It's our job to provide the best service we can for our clients, and that's what we're gonna do regardless of when we're starting. How to overcome, sure, yeah, a new personality, that's gonna be a thing, and so we're gonna have to read the room. We're gonna have to understand how people are feeling about how we're conducting our business, and whoever our direct is with the building committee or with the town or with the district. Maybe that requires a one-on-one meeting and get some feedback from you, and you tell us that, hey, we think you're doing well here, but this person is wishing you did this or that, and we would take that feedback and react accordingly. We're fully aware that this is it's a little different, but we're not afraid of it. How have we prepared? So, we studied your schematic design submission. We understand the construction schedule, wanting to get them in the building, the new building for the 28 school year. And then after that, wanting to finish the site work. We understand in your schematic design VE log, you had, it was like somewhere around 880K of VE items that it looks like they've been kind of deferred and they're out there for future approval if needed. So we can already foresee some adding to that VE log to ensure we're designing the budget. And I already mentioned the cost effective side of things, right? We know from MSBA project experience, that conversation continues on. It doesn't stop as you finish the schematic design submission. And we've watched community forums. We've heard about concerns that they wish there were some abutter meetings. We've heard great responses. And I'm not trying to, your community outreach is one of the most robust I've seen. Project website, videos on there, narrated videos. You're doing all you can. You're never gonna get 100% consensus. I don't need to tell you that. We've learned a lot through watching that. So we feel great about where we're at and jumping in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question, what challenges do you, the project team, foresee with this project? And can you provide examples of how you have addressed similar challenges in the past? If you can provide examples of significant problems you've encountered and how you were able to recover.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take one, and I need you guys to talk.
Yeah.
So the first challenge is, right, your feasibility study effort's gonna be all for naught if you can't get a majority yes vote. So that's kind of like where we're at now. So whatever needs to happen to ensure, right, that thing of a third. So you're gonna have a third of people in Wilmington that are gonna love this project. You're gonna have a third that aren't gonna love it regardless. And then there's a third in the middle that you gotta get their support. So whatever needs to happen to get their support, that's gonna be step one. Let's talk about other challenges. I need you to talk.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So I would say, obviously you have a site selected, and one of the things I just pinged on when I was looking at it was the preliminary geotechnical report. And it seems like, you know, the design team came up with some potential solutions. However, in reading into it a little bit more, they even kind of backed off and said, we're not quite sure you want to do or need to do what they would consider a deep foundation system. It might be more of a soil stabilization that you need, because your bedrock, the depth is varied. So I did a project not too far from here in Peabody where we instead of doing deep foundations, we stabilized the soil, saved a lot of money in that way. It's a little bit more conventional, and it helps when you don't need to essentially do a belt and suspenders approach to solving a geotechnical issue. So, and I would say this as well. You've got a lot of it narrowed in with the budget you have, the design you have, but site conditions, existing utilities, things like that, those are still big variables that are out there. So the more we can hone in on them and get them well defined, the better.
Yeah, let's say one thing and I only think. So we're doing the Green Meadow Elementary School project in Maynard, undocumented underground fiber line. That fiber line happens to provide the network to the existing building. And that fiber line happens to be right at the elevation of the proposed roadway that the GC wants to start leveling off, come, I don't know, 4 weeks from now. So, we had to jump on finding out what is that? Initially, we thought it was electrical, so we called it, anyways, come to find out, fiber company did the fiber work for them, I don't know, 15 years ago, connected, anyways, got quotes to temporarily feed air from aerial, the building, same fiber vendor. And then, of course, I needed to get an electrical vendor because the aerial pathway that they wanted to go needed to be below an electrical line that they didn't want to work next to, which fed site pole. Anyway, so every project has issues and you got to jump on them and you got to show your client that you're on top of it, and it's never easy. But we love those challenges. We got one for problem.
Yes, I do. So I'm currently working on the Crocker Elementary School Project in Pittsburgh. And one of the things that I have kind of discovered and learned throughout that process is that circulation on site is very crucial. How all the different trades get on site, material delivery, and then also abutting streets as well. You have the main road and side roads and things like that, ensuring that circulation on site is very crude. Where are their laid down areas, and then also keeping emergency paths open. With Crocker, one thing that we did, because it was a occupied phase construction. At one point, we demoed the west wing and then moved that entire school population to the finished first floor of the new north building while we're abating and demoing their current building. And we're doing it step by step and to kind of ensure that no school programs or interruptions happen, and there's no need for any temporary outside space for classrooms.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question. As you know, we are working towards a successful town meeting vote and ballot box vote this coming September. With a yes vote, we would officially be bringing on a new OPM immediately following these events. Describe how this project team would successfully engage both town and the community, based on a similar project you have worked on at this current stage and moving forward with the project.
So we would jump right into playing the OPM role at whether they're monthly or bi-weekly building committee meetings and presenting the OPM update, just like your past OPM was. We would play the role of primary facilitator as it relates to the design review that would pop up during that initial design development submission. Play the primary facilitator for the cost estimate process that would happen in that phase. Be the primary coordinator and facilitator with all that is communicating with MSBA. Provide the MSBA with your typical MSBA monthly reports, have you all copied on those or whoever would like to be. So no different if we were selected, prior to the designer.
Thank you. Next question. What are the most important things an owner, in this case, the town, can do to ensure a successful project? How have you handled situations where an owner insists on something you believe is not in the best interest of the project at hand?
Sure. So, how can the owner ensure a successful project? So, this is what I would say. You're gonna be close to us. You're gonna be close to Dawn Whittier. You're gonna be close to Fontaine. In the event you see issues or concerns, you're gonna need to bring them to us. So whether they're concerns with us, concerns with Dawn Whittier, concerns with Fontaine, we need to have that open communication. So whatever the concern or issue is, it gets resolved in a timely manner. So we can move forward in a timely manner and meet our marks relative to schedule and cost, budget. The next question was.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Just, in situations where the owner insists on something that you believe is not in the best interest of the project, how do you handle that
Yeah.
situation?
Okay, so I'm trying to find an example, but what I would say is from a high level response, as long as we're showing that we're putting forth the care of designing a building and site that meets all the requirements that have been put forth in front of us from you all. The challenge to get to communicate and resolve that issue where I think you guys are coming up with a decision that won't work. You're gonna respect where I'm coming from, because you're gonna know that background of like, no, these guys are busting their hump to make sure Dawn Whittier is designing to our requirements. Fontaine's giving their constructability reviews as they're supposed to be as the CM. And ultimately, we just gotta talk it through, right? It's never personal. It's always what's best for the project. So it's important, to go back to kind of the aspect of being a project leader. It takes conviction, right? So we can't be shy. We've done a good amount of projects, so there's some competency that we're bringing into this project. So we gotta voice it. And everybody's adults and everybody's gonna be respectful. And so you just gotta not be scared to have that difficult conversation.
Thank you. Next question. Provide examples of how you've helped resolve disagreements between stakeholders. This could be between different town groups, this could be between an owner and a vendor, or this could be between vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can use another project as an example where there certainly has been disagreements between different key stakeholders. And every building committee is different, right? And some building committees, lack of better, they don't wanna see how the sausage is made. And they take that offline. And so there was a situation where we were getting, pretty deep into conversations about PCOs, potential change orders, in front of the full building committee. And I think they said, we really don't want to have to deal with this at a level of a building committee, can't you take this offline? So we worked with them and the architect. Because we were quite honestly having a hard time getting aligned with what the architect was, bringing to the table. Hey, it's not our fault. We didn't do anything wrong here. We're not looking to, again, we're all adults here, but we have to be firm and we have to protect the owner, right? So, I think what we did, we worked with the larger building committee to have a lot of what you already have, working groups, right? Let's take the breakout working group. And, quite honestly, just because it's a challenging dynamic still, but it's very chapter and verse. The architect comes in, states the case as to where they stand. We, as the OPM, we get a chance to state our case and we bring it back to the owner who's in that meeting. One of their reps is in that meeting and ultimately back to the larger building committee. So by the time we get to them, we've done the messy work outside that meeting and we come in and here's our presentation.
Yes. Well,
Turning off that, following up on that. I look at it more of like change orders, protecting the town from change orders, so when you're dealing with vendors in the Fontaine and everybody wants to look for the town to pay for something, how are you dealing with that to help prevent that? Cause that's where this whole project will go off the rails.
I could take that one. So I would be boots on the ground essentially every day throughout the week, and I will be the first one to see and hear about any potential change orders. As I'm walking through site, I'm looking and viewing, where there might be potential issues that might arise and address them there. Also, bring them up to my project manager as well. But when that change order comes through, it's important for me to review it, align it to the drawings and specifications for the project in the direction and make sure that it's adhering to that. If it's not, then it's something that we'll bring up and address. They'll provide a RFI for any clarifications, and then if it needs to be a change order, then a proposed change order will be sent. We'll review it and make sure that it is a fair, competitive pricing, and make sure that, moving forward, that, we're ensuring that those change orders that might slip are caught and addressed in a timely manner.
It was, and a couple of things I'll add. So we always go into change orders assuming the scope of work is owned somewhere in the drawings or specs. The contractor just isn't finding it. Because as funny as that might sound to a layperson, that's a lot of the time the case. A lot of the time, you're gonna get a proposal change order from a subcontractor, and they just got lazy at reviewing the detail in the drawing or reviewing the spec section that covers that scope. So we always go into, when we first get the proposal change, or like, I don't think, this has got to be covered somewhere. And we play detective, and simultaneously, we're making sure the design team's doing it too. If it's electrical, the electrical engineer, and so on and so on. So that's always kind of the initial perspective in strategy to protect your contingency budget, right? And then like Luis is saying, there are going to be scopes that, are missed, or there's going to be unforeseen conditions and so on and so on. So when the change order scope is legit, we're going to communicate with the design team and say, okay, this is a $5,000 change order, right? So that's our ceiling. Let's see what and if they come back with 10,000, we're going to mark it up and we're going to ask them to resubmit. And if we can't get them to the fair number, we're going to issue what's called a construction change directive, not to exceed 5K, and we're going to track it on time. And we're going to all do this, after getting your approval. But there's contractual methods to making sure the change order work is happening at the fair number, and so that would be the strategy to protecting the contingency budget.
Yes.
Probably most importantly, we have a very engaged group of abutters.
Yep.
How would you mitigate any issues with sound, dust, vibration, or like you said earlier, the potential working Saturdays?
Yep. So right out of the gate, Luis would walk with Fontaine site super and try to catch them when they're home, provide our business cards and say, please, you call us if there are any issues. Out of the gate, that's kind of starting that kind of team like a friendship there that needs to start. And so Louise boots on the ground, there's gonna be dust control requirements in the specs. He's gonna make sure that's happening. Vibration, I'm sure, based off of adjacency to the abutters, there's gonna be vibration monitoring that's gonna need to happen. That's gonna be coordinated with the geotech engineer. And so, we're gonna make sure in Doran Whittier's bid docs, that quality control on site's there. And Luis is gonna make sure we're hitting our marks on those requirements. But you know, things will happen, and so we'll have to react quickly. We don't need frustrated abutters, right? So the idea is we're gonna jump on the issue, and so David Prouty High School project, Fontaine's a CM. The project laid out such that it's at this elevation, and we have residential abutters down here. This is a property that has never had good stormwater drainage conditions, ever. And we cleared that site, so we didn't help that cause. We set up all the erosion control measures you can possibly do to do what erosion control does. But stormwater still finds its way down, and the idea was silt and whatnot stays put. Heavy rain event. Next thing you know, in a butter down at that level, they had like a rip wrap, a stone extension of a driveway. They had a paved driveway and then like say another 15 feet by 30 feet of stone. And that stone found its way across the street, and so we had to work with Fontaine and fix it. But when you jump on it, you indicate, how sorry you are, you jump on it, you fix it, and you say to each other, okay, how can we better control this stormwater run? And so that's that level of care you gotta do to make sure our butters realize you're doing the best you can,
Sorry, one more thing, because we're talking about is, the butters, are gonna be put in a tough position. Because this school has been a grass field in their backyard forever,
right?
and so we are going to be in their backyards, in their side yards. So this is gonna be at the constant communication from the OPM group and the CM and it's gonna be nonstop, because these people are gonna deal with vibration, dust, and things they haven't had to, leading up to a building that's never been there, so.
Yeah.
I think that it's gotta be a strength out of the OPM to drive communication to those abutters and help satisfy that and help take it away from the town, not take it away from the town, but manage it for the town. And hopefully that will help.
Yeah, and we would lead that charge, one, and two, we have a lot of experience with Fontaine, you got a great CM. And so us working closely with Fontaine, we'll stay on top of that.
That's.
Just
One follow-up over here, if I may. Or did someone want to?
Just a quick thing if I could, yeah, there's been case scenarios where there are other abutters, right, buildings get built. And it meets all the zoning requirements, but at some certain part of the day, the sun flares up and you're looking. That's the kind of thing during design, go back to Doran Whittier, say, when you do your walkthrough, your fly through, make sure you're taking everything into account, wind, sunlight, anything like that. If you don't you wanna get it all out on the table so that when the building is built, you're not getting any surprises like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm thinking also the fields that are there now, they're nice and quiet for them and everything. I mean, you never know if you're gonna hit ledge or whatever. But would you, as you start the job and get on it, would you send out just a notice to the people, not only abutting but the people across the street or whatever, a wider group saying, we're gonna start this work. We hope we're gonna address all these changes. And we will constantly be sending out messages, one of these good welcome type of informational things.
Yes, so we're gonna already have 30-day look aheads, and yes, so it's gonna be high level information like that, but weedy enough. So they know what's gonna be happening in their backyard, and 100% step one, it sounds like, all right, let's collect email addresses. Right, of all these abutters, and let's create a isolated email group to them. Say at the end of every week, here's what we got done this week, and next week is gonna be this, or whether it be bi-week, we can figure it out, but 100%, because that's gonna be all information we're already gonna have. and feeding that to the abutter to show we're trying to be great neighbors to them. Even though this is gonna be a challenging, 2.5 years or so, yeah, that would be crucial.
Thank you.
One follow-on, I have two more questions, but I have one additional follow-on, regarding just, we were talking about change orders, we were talking about the abutters, which is great, but, and this is no disrespect towards the vendors that we have on our team now. Can you give an example where the workmanship that you may have seen, whether it was a walkway or an installation of tile that might, in your estimation, not be of the quality standard that it should be, that you've taken that matter to the hands of the parties involved and either asked for a modification or a do-over, or, stood tall to protect the interests of the town who we're working with to make sure that quality craftsmanship is done?
I'll give one example, then you go. So Lincoln Street Elementary School Project, town of Northborough, 5-phase owner occupied. There was an example where we did great in that job, under 1% change orders, hit our mark schedule wise. High level, amazing job. But there were locations where the flat work concrete contractor, had some pours for the concrete sidewalks, and we allowed them to try to do a remedial repair. And it didn't come out to our satisfaction, so we had them rip out, I wanna say it was, I don't know, probably 5 panels worth, so call it, I don't know, 50 to 100 feet. And re-pour it, and they got it, I mean, they could see the cracking, it wasn't a challenging thing to see. So 100%, and but like that quality control stuff, that's gonna be something Luis is gonna be tracking every day. And as he sees these issues, he's gonna produce a construction observation report. So it's gonna be like a rolling punch list that we need Fontaine and their subs to resolve before it gets covered up, before it gets to the true punches, you know what I mean? What I thought.
So I do daily reports, I do weekly reports and monthly reports. In my daily reports, I walk around the site, I look at the current scope of work that's being worked on. One example that I could give you, the installation of new windows in their sills. As those are being installed, we did a mock-up before they were installed all around the building to ensure that this is exactly how they're gonna be installed. I used a little angle ruler and put them on every sill just to see if it pitches to daylight. There were a few that I noticed that were not pitching, and the last thing I want is ponding water on top of the sill, because over time, that's just gonna eat up that sill. So I went around and I created used the same floor plan, and I highlighted all the areas where the sills need to be readjusted. So that right there is a way that I, take initiative and, create a report and let all the players know what needs to be adjusted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, obviously you have shared with us that you have had the pleasure of working with Dora and Whittier. Wanted to hear what you like about working with them, and perhaps some constructive feedback that you might offer, or something that you don't particularly like.
Yeah, so they're on the Constantino Middle School Project Behavioral, that's not my project, so I wish I came prepared. I wish I talked to the project team on that one, so I can't talk to that one. I worked with Dora Whittier on a Fitchburg State University project. There was a chiller install. We had to rip up a basement of one of the Fitchburg State buildings, university buildings. Very messy renovation project. Very HVAC intense, mechanical intense, and they were great. So Rob Fitzgerald was the architect. He's not on this job, but you want to talk about a job that could have gone sideways so quickly because of how just it being a gut reno to a building that was constructed, I want to say in the 1800s. And I'm not going to say the company name, and you're not going to get them on this job. It was a very cutthroat HVAC contractor who kind of played the prime played the GCM job. And myself and Rob, we had to fight tooth and nail. It was, I don't know, probably a 14, 18-month project. So that I developed a lot of respect for Rob and the firm through that project. But sure, yeah, if we get hired, are there going to be some challenges? Maybe, yeah, but we always keep the fact that we're here to protect your interests. And they know that, Dorn Whittier knows that, Fontaine will know that, the contractors are gonna, the other contractors, and so. Again, it's not personal, it's just trying to, all of us do the best job they can. So yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the last question is, obviously, you've shared that you've worked with Fontaine
Yep.
before, so same question. You've worked with them in the CM at risk
Yep.
model, I assume, and you've said that. What have you liked and perhaps any constructive feedback there as well?
yeah, so this is gonna sound like, I've done a lot of work, I would rank Fontaine the best. Out of all the GCs I've worked with, and out of all the CMs I've worked with. Not because issues never pop up on a Fontaine, that's not because of that. Because when issues pop up, you know you can call them. And you have a heart to heart, and you know we're gonna work together to jump on resolving this issue. And it's gonna be a collaborative, and like, so, right, like, so you guys went construction manager at risk, and the idea, one of the components of that, constructed methodology is, it's a collaboration with the builder, right, it's a team. You get that from them when they're hard bidding a job, that's the level of care, so Mike and Luis are working with them on Crocker Elementary School in Fitchburg, and that was a GC, a hard bid job. And that's just, because at the end of the day, they want to be viewed as a great builder, but also a teammate to the municipality they're working for, a teammate to the OPM they worked with, a teammate to the design, you know? So I honestly don't have any bad things to say. I love the fact that you guys got Fontaine, and we would love to be their teammate on this, as well as Dorn Whittier's.
Thank you. So I can't thank you enough on behalf of
Thank
the
you.
committee for being here tonight. This brings our evening to a close. So I want to thank each of you for being here. As you know, we have a series of interviews that we're conducting this evening. We will be deliberating. And the town manager's office will be in touch with you for just to let you know what the results are.
Perfect.
So again, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much, guys.
I appreciate it.
Really appreciate the time. Thank you.